Hi, everyone, and welcome to my weekly reflection corner, or as I call my Substack, my mind's fetishes. Um, yeah, as I do every week, or I will be doing every week on Sundays, I'll go through my week and reflect and share any relevant insights that may help you to navigate your beautiful paradoxical human experience. So I've been reflecting a little bit on my past week, and as usual, there's just so much. I'm like, it's insane. The amount of things that happen during the week. I'm always fascinated. And I think it's only when you start journaling and noting things down that you realize how much actually has happened. And I think the same comes for a yearly reflection. If you look back on the year, it's so easy to forget the things that we've done, the things that we've achieved, how far we've come. And as soon as you put pen to paper and you start noting it down, it's like, fuck, it's been the most transformational year of my life. And the same is true for a day as well. Like sometimes if you're asked, how was your day? You're like, yeah, it was okay. You kind of, you forget. Um, I guess the example that comes to my mind, there's this quote saying, have you actually had a bad day, or was it just the 5 last minutes of your day that were miserable, or something have happened? And I remember listening to a podcast, and I've heard this man say, every day at the end of my day, I sit down, or when I lay down in bed, I think of 10 things that I'm proud of, or I have done, or I have achieved. So like a mental, he does like a mental checklist. And I remember one day I was feeling a little bit low, and I was like, fuck, this day was shit. Like I didn't do much, feeling unproductive, whatnot. And then I was like, okay, I'm just still gonna go through mental checklist and see like what I've done. And I started looking back, and I was like, I did this and I did that and I did this and I did that. And I'm like, fuck, this day was actually amazing. Um, so yeah, I guess the reflection, self-reflection, being with yourself and um, reflecting on things just to allow them to kind of settle into your system so that you can remember, because memory is so unreliable and it's so easy to forget. And this is where I'm starting now. I wasn't intending to start here, but there we go. The quote that was coming to my mind in reflection to my week was, we're just all guiding each other home. And I think um, oh, there's many variations, I think, of that. I think it's Alan Watts that said it originally. I might be wrong, it doesn't matter. But what does it mean, we're walking each other home? It may sound very philosophical, very spiritual, but what does it actually mean? Um, and for me, guiding each other home, walking each other home, is essentially me doing this. Me recording this is an invitation, a guide to you, to your home. Um, and I've been reflecting a lot this week about my gifts and our gifts. It's very strange because during the weeks I have a lot of different echoes of different things, and like sharing your gifts has been a big one this week. I've listened about it on the podcast. I think I had a conversation about it with someone. Just reflecting on my own inner experience and what I'm creating. Um, so guiding each other home is me being in my power, me sharing my gifts, me sharing who I am, so that you can get access and permission to be who you are and to share your gifts, or to recognize your gifts. And I wrote it down. It's like our gifts sometimes are our little quirks, and a lot of the times they don't fit into conventional framework. Um, and I think this is a lot of the times where we trip over, because it's like, oh, for me personally, it's like I have so many fascinations. It's like, how do I combine them both into a cohesive, society approved framework? Um, it's like, I'm a dancer, I'm a poet, I'm a coach. And a lot of the times it's like, oh, I need to just choose one and be that one. Otherwise, like, how can I be a coach, a men's coach, if I'm a dancer as well, and I sing and I play guitar, and I want it all to be seen, and I want to share it all. And that kind of creates this amalgamation. I don't know if that's the right word. I sometimes use English words that I don't even know the meaning of. But it's like I'm molding all these different aspects of me into something, and I'm presenting it to the world, and the world is like, who are you? Um, and that's okay, and that's actually very okay, and this is what we need more of. We need more of people embracing those quirks and these seemingly unrelatable aspects of themselves, and actually creating something beautiful out of it. Because this is where the beauty comes from a creation of something new. And so many of us just try to fit in unknowingly into these already created structures of who we should be, how we should be. And if we're a singer, this is how we should be. And if we're a coach, then this is how we should be. This is like the marketing strategy we need to use. Da 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 da. But my rebellious side has always been no, like, I want to go against the grain. I want to create something new. Like, I want to be out of the box and provoke different ways of seeing, and empowering people to actually tap into that more, like use it as a superpower, use it as a gift. So walking each other home for me is doing what I do in the way I do, in the most real and authentic expression, and allowing people to see that it's actually okay, because this is what I'm learning from experiencing life, the world, and other creators. Like, they look outside of the box, they think outside of the box, they create what their heart desires to create, and that gives a permission to someone who's listening to do the same. And I was listening to this podcast episode by Dan and Miranda, which I discovered only recently, but he did a solo episode where he was literally recording a voice note. And I was like, I've been thinking about doing that for so long, to do like a solo cast where I just go and I just speak into mic, because oftentimes there's so much that wants to flow through me, and I never did that for whatever reasons. And then I came across him doing that, and I'm like, wow, this is actually so powerful. And it was so impactful actually listening to him. And he our gifts, and the fact that we all have gifts. Um, and that allowed me to tap into my gift of, or deepen into the permission for me to just record also in whatever way, shape, or form. And another thing that I've been pondering on, that I've also heard on a podcast, or like also hearing the kind of patterns and echoes of it, of how to create, and the way that it liberated me was, it's okay to just create. Like, allow your creation to inform who you are. And this is what I wrote in my journal: allow your creation to inform who you are. In the past, I would be like, okay, I'm a coach, so this is how I need to write, this is how I need to think, this is how I need to create. Okay, if I'm a musician, this is like, there's so many preconceived ideas of how things should be, and it's so easy to get trapped in that. And what I'm discovering and realizing now, it's like, no, fuck it. It's okay. It's okay to write. It's okay to sing. It's okay to dance. It's okay to express yourself in whatever way you want to express, and allow that expression to inform who you are. And oftentimes it won't fit into predefined terms, and that's okay. And for me, that realization literally opened up the gate of, I can do whatever. Like, literally, there's no rules, there's no limitations. I can do whatever I want to do, however I want to do. And I will see what the pattern over time is. And then I can define myself. And it's this idea of niching, when you're a creator of some sort, to niche down and to be very specific. And it's great to niche down, but I think what is not being spoken about, that niching down more often than not happens through the process of creation and the mess and this production of something. And then you see a pattern, and then like, oh, this is actually my niche. And this is how you discover it. Versus, I just started, I've not produced anything, and I need to figure out my niche. It's pretty much impossible. So it's the same way I have discovered my passion for men's work. At the beginning, I was life coach, and I was coaching and also like struggling, like, what is my niche? How do I define myself? How do I articulate what I'm doing? And then over time, I'm looking back and I'm like, I pretty much work only with men. And there's a very special bond and connection that we create. And there's a different kind of transformation that happens with me and men versus with me and women. And I was like, that's interesting. And this is how, through just doing things, I realized who I am. So I allowed my art to inform who I am. And that's the invitation that I would love to share, is whatever you're doing, just keep doing, keep creating it. Don't try to define it. Just express yourself in whichever way your heart desires, without thinking how you will look, how you will sound, whether that will fit someone else's definition, because there's no freedom in that, in trying to fit someone else's already defined structures and identities. And breathe. um, so yeah, and with all of that, I guess another thing that has been very alive for me, which actually I wanted to start with it, but it seems like I'm gonna end with it, is how to cultivate that creative energy, that aliveness in you. If your life maybe is a little bit dull, or is a little bit boring, or is a little bit depressed, it's how I create more freshness in my life, I guess. And the most recent example of that was me booking a hotel by the seafront, 4 hours away from where I live. Not planning anything, but only knowing where I'm going, not planning what I'm gonna do. And in one of the books that I read, I forgot her name. Her surname is Cameron, and the book is called The Artist's Way. She suggests going on an artist date, which is a spontaneous date with yourself, doing something you used to do as a child, or doing something spontaneous, buying something that something small, perhaps, but something very like, I don't know, that would reconnect with your child, to refresh that creative perspective. And I kind of extended it to a weekend, so an artist date over the weekend. And so when I went there for 4 hours driving on a bus, that was in and of itself, because I love long commutes, that was in and of itself already a very refreshing experience. Something about being on the bus, on the train, on a long journey really refreshes my heart and my soul and gets me in the flow and the creation. I love listening to podcasts, reading books, and just like getting in my own bubble. And so I went to the seafront. I didn't have anything planned, and I ended up having the most fun ever. Um, I decided I wanted to go out. So I was like, okay, I guess I'm going out. I don't have anything to wear because obviously I wasn't planning for it. And I was like, what should I do? So I went to a charity shop and I bought this beautiful red dress, still with tags. And I was like, wow, I'm supporting a charity with my night out. And that felt already so special. Um, I got high heels, which I don't wear. So that was another experience in and of itself. And I went on the Eventbrite. I found the event that I wanted to go to. I went on Tinder. I got myself a date, an amazing man that I've connected with. And it was just fascinating, like just doing things in the spur of a moment, spontaneously. That brought so much refreshness in myself, so much aliveness, just doing things that you wouldn't normally do. So, like snapping out of the usual context. And like if I started talking about our gifts and sharing our gifts, then this element is more of how do we even begin that journey? And for me, it's like creating that fresh perspective into life. And that for me happens when I do spontaneous things, random things, out of the box, creative. um, and that's the kind of, that was my weekend. So I had a weekend off doing whatever I love, um, and being spontaneous and creative, and really hit that reset button. And that really awakened a lot of creativity in me. Um, but you can do that in the smallest of moments. I went to a coffee shop for breakfast, and there was a celebration, I think Diwali or something, I might be wrong, but they put these like colorful curtains. And I was looking through the window, and I sat there before. I was looking through the window. I was like, wow, the life outside looks so different just with different curtains. And that was one of the moments where I'm like, sometimes simple things, that changing a small thing, an accent in your room, in your environment, can give you that freshness. For me, a lot of the times, like restructuring my room or like doing a deep clean, um, going for a walk in the neighborhood that I've not walked past. So there's a lot of small things that you can do to really refresh yourself, and give yourself that reset that we don't often do. We don't do enough. We get caught up in the routine and the mundane, and then we ask ourselves, why do I feel so miserable? Why do I feel so tired? It's because you've not hit the reset button for a while. And in my head, as I'm sharing this, I'm getting like all these like, oh, but what about this? What about that? And I'm like, whatever is in your head that's telling you you cannot do it because of XYZ, just know that there were people in your shoes with the exact same, if not worse, circumstances, and they pulled it off. So the excuses are excuses. And I think it's important to recognize that there will always be excuses, but what you choose to do and how you choose to create your life in every single moment is what matters. And that's it. I think I'm going to stop here. It was interesting because this time I actually reflected and tried to structure what I'm going to speak about. So that was my first experience, not pulling things out of the thin air, although some of them came. But yeah, it's fun. It's fun to do it spontaneously. It's also fun to plan and organize what I'm going to say. So I'll keep exploring that. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you have heard in this for yourself. Yeah, share anything that's alive and present, whatever the emotion that has been awakened in you, or frustration, anything. I would love to know, and have a conversation. I hope you're having a beautiful end of the week, start of the week, wherever you are in the week. Yeah, and I'll speak to you soon.